They got the times all wrong.
That's okay. Well, like I said, covering the inside, Mayer does not want to give him the space. He's going to force him the long way around, and he's going to take it, but he's going to go way wide. Is he going to hold the speed up? He's in the grass trying to hold on. Simon Mayer has got the speed, and he is going to take that lead back just as they cross for the win. Is this enough to try and finally get this done into the Descida del Lago? He outbreaks him. He has the inside, but he can't feed it out because there's a car there, and Costa does it again, denying him, but fighting back. Here comes Tolinen, going to be on the outside, coming into the horseshoe. It's hard to try and make it stick the long way around to this one, but he's going to do it anyways. Another right-hander leading into this one. It's just the never-ending side-by-side battle, but he gets a shove from behind. Showed and Holly are now vying for the lead down the backstretch. Look at him all the way to the yellow line. Michaud covering him off. Holly backs it up. He is setting him up. Absolutely. I guarantee you right here. And look at how calm he is. Oh, no.
That's a slowdown.
It certainly is. And off to the bottom of the track. He doesn't have to play any games. Michaud is done for. And he looks in the mirror, almost unbelieving of his luck. Here comes Beaufil. Beaufil going to look to the inside, coming into Brundle. Are we going to go 3 wide potentially? Is Ziti going to try and lift? He is, and they go 3 wide into the corner. But Luke comes out in front, and a little bit of acceleration at the wrong time for Beaufil. Puts him under threat. Down the inside goes Stetzel, through the bomb hole, and out the other side. Stetzel carries the momentum. Another right-hander now into Corum, and he's back through.
Right on board here with James Holland in that Ninja Trader Esports AM machine. He may have a 2-for-1 going 3 wide down Kemmel.
How about going to the grass to make it 3 wide, in fact? No one's backing off yet. Dwight Combe on lap 3. No one's backing off. Horvath now backs it off. Luna nearly squeezes Holland off the track.
You're just going to stay together as we get a move to the inside. Levesque trying to defend on Ferguson, and Ferguson fights back out of the corner, almost banging doors as they come around the last turn. Here comes Mies as well, trying to take back some of the positions that he lost as they stay tight to the inside. Overall, the dirt and dust on the track and down into the first corner. We're going to be wheel to wheel, yet still Levesque around the outside. Ferguson, can he get the job done? Yet now he has.
And it's not over yet for the battle for 7th. Harper holding on to the bottom. Sorenzo trying to jump past Walker. They crash coming into the final corner. Sorenzo and Walker crash down the front stretch. The last cars on the lead lap trying back up down the straightaway. Walker will finish in 8th backwards to close the year.
Okayama became known on the world stage when F1 arrived for a pair of races in the 90s. But strangely, this circuit was built as a playground for club-level drivers. It'll be a stark contrast seeing our competitors putting their little machines out on a former F1 track, but will the original intent of the venue seem to become a nice fit for them? We'll find out soon as we get ready to watch Round 9 of the Formula V Weekend Warriors, and you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Robert O'Brien. Behind the scenes is our director, Zach Johnson, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Since those races in 94 and 95, this place has slipped back into obscurity a bit, so let's head to our track guide to find a little bit more about it. Welcome to Okayama International Circuit. Located an hour's drive northeast of its titular city, it sits nestled among the green, lush hills in southern Japan. Built in 1990, it's most well known for the 2 visits Formula One made in 94 and 95. but since then, national and international touring car series have come to race here as well. Otherwise, the two available layouts are mostly used for club racing and amateur track days. The full course is just under 4 kilometers with 11 turns, and the short version is a measly 2 kilometers with 7 turns. It does this by cutting out the portion between Williams and Revolver. While hairpins abound throughout the lap, overtakes tend to be surprisingly hard. The first corner, Atwood Curve, and Hairpin are the main spots where drivers can attempt a traditional pass. Hairpin makes for unique battles though. The unusually steep banking for a road course, plus the switchback into Revolver, means that holding it around the outside can reward a brave driver. However, while it is a more modern facility, runoff in some places is shockingly small, and it can be easy to damage your car. This section in particular around Revolver, Piper, and Redmond gets slightly claustrophobic. The pit entry requires some practice since you must use the inside lane of Mike Knight, otherwise you'll get a penalty. While it might not see as much use in the real world, here on iRacing, this track is part of the base content, and so new road racers will find themselves here frequently. With it being suitable for a wide range of styles of cars, it's sure to excite many of the competitors who tackle it. Well, Rob, it might feel a little large for these Formula Vs, but as I said, this track is meant for this sort of use in real life.
Well, it absolutely is, Joe, and welcome everybody to Okayama International Raceway. And it is a it's not the big heady heights of Suzuka. It's not the big heady heights of other tracks such as Twin Ring Motegi, but it can still provide great racing. And it is, as you mentioned before, it played host to the actual Japanese Grand Prix for a few years when F1 had to search around for a replacement, and it was not too bad. It certainly fit the bill, but 11 corners of 2.3 mile goodness should see our drivers having to play around with it a little bit, and especially given the fact that, once again, as many tracks around the Formula V Weekend Warriors feature, there are a few long straights out there to provide plenty of overtaking opportunity through the slipstream.
Yeah, I imagine there'll be some places where they'll get some chances, but before we get to the racing, we want to remind you that our broadcast is brought to you by 42 Stitches. 42 Stitches offers custom embroidery and full-color heat transfer. Put your logo on shirts, hats, jackets, and anything else you can imagine to promote your business or organization. They also have just recently expanded their capabilities into vinyl graphics. Put your company logo on your vehicles, create signage, or hand out stickers to potential customers, creating brand awareness. Check them out at 42stitches.com and let them put together a package especially for you. Looking here now at our drivers on track in qualifying. They've got about 5 minutes left, and it's fairly tight up at the top, only 0.08 of a second to Dudu Castro from Simon Mayer. And looks like, I want to say this is the first time we've seen Dudu on a potential pole.
I think it might be, actually. He did actually have one crack at the whip and a previous race, and can't remember off the top of my head when he did, but he was actually leading at one point, and then Foreign's Arabian just pipped him to the post at the very edge of the qualifying. But I cannot actually see Foreign's Arabian here in the session, so that's going to provide big ups for everybody else around, because everybody can, have at least a little bit of a chance to get into pole position. But Simon Mayer is the biggest key, because he needs as many points as he can get. But Dudu Castro providing a very big obstacle in his way.
And Neil Sinkowski is certainly enjoying the fact that Foreign's isn't here so far, so that'll help him potentially jump up to second in the championship, depending on how this race results for him. Watching the 39 currently of Niels come out of Atwood and up the long back stretch here towards the hairpin. This is perhaps one of the better places and more likely to produce a pass during the race when we get to that. But for now, still trying to cycle around in these very long laps, almost 2 minutes to try and get around the track in these cars. And we're seeing a fairly decent spread as well, Rob. It looks like something in the range of 6 seconds between everybody.
When I said it was a great, or when the two of us actually said that it was a great course for the clubs, and especially for these kinds of cars, tiny little wheels of fun, it still is going to provide a lot of technical difficulties, especially this last section here as we're coming through. Double S is coming into then 2 90-degree turns, and it is going to be difficult for these guys to maintain consistency, not only through these sets of corners, but also through the fact that section 1, the Mazdas come around here every so often, and they provide some little how should I put it, wake-up calls for everybody thinking that they're Michael Schumacher, and then it turns around and they're just a normal Sunday driver. But yeah, always watch out for those first sections and last sections.
Now, on screen, don't get too scared that Fabian is suddenly here. I know it's a similar color to his infamous magenta that he's got, but that is Antoine Venet that you see coming out to the track to try and improve on his 154.8. I'm a bit surprised, though. Let's head down to our pit reporter today, Ozzy Puhaka. Ozzy, normally in this series, we see drivers really try to hook up and use one another for slipstream to get faster laps, but I don't see anybody really by each other currently.
No, not really. Some people are trying that. I just saw on the back straight that Rocco Horvat and Marco Trespidi were trying to pull that sort of move, where Trespidi was actually pulling behind Rocco Horvat in that car number 3, but it's one of those cases where Marco may have just been a gentleman and letting him by. On the main straight, we also see another drafting duo, Simon Mayer and Kenneth Batley, but even that for Batley might be something he needs to really work hard if he wants to hold on to it. But it has improved his lap time, but otherwise we haven't seen too much drafting, and that is a little bit surprising because this is a big circuit. It's a former Grand Prix host, so definitely if I was out there driving, I would be looking for that slipstream and trying to make the best use of it.
Still watching from Batley as he comes around Atwood, and he's going to get a tow here, no doubt. Trespidi is just coming to the line, but this should be a slow lap for him as he continues on. And indeed, yeah, that one was off the pace. He's currently sitting 11th. So Batley in 5th. His last lap was his quickest at a 50.3. In fact, that improved his best time, I think, by more than half a second as he comes out of hairpin. Now plunging back downhill through Revolver and into Piper. This is where it gets a lot more technical in here through here, Rob.
Yeah, absolutely, especially given the fact that he's following another car, and we know what the slipstream can do for these cars, but at the very same time, on the other side of the coin, they still have to worry about the turbulent air that is generated from these cars, the wake that these cars can produce, given the fact that, well, that suspension is very, very open, and especially as, that is Batley. Sorry, just looking at Batley now on my screen, and he was very, very close to the poor car ahead of him, and just grabbing ever so slightly in as much performance as he can. Coming across the line, does he go faster? He might.
Yes, he does. By 0.03 of a second. Yeah, that was Mayer pulling out of the way, I think, who was trying to give space to Kenneth Batley there, and Mayer not really under threat from being overtaken. He's got at least a decent few tenths over him, and now Mayer, I'm not sure if he's paying the favor back or if he's just abandoning, but or excuse me, if Batley was paying the favor back, he let Mayer by as they came out of Williams. And we just got the checkered flag on this qualifying session, so anybody on a hot lap is able to finish it. Niels Sinkowski, I think, is going to be among the first in the 39 machine.
And he is coming up to the line. And does he go faster? His last was no, he did not go faster. 157 compared to his best of a 155.
Venet is going to be the next one in the 16 machine. Down in 18th, second to last of those who have set a time. Lyndon Hughes and Mikhail Vucenic have not been on track here in the qualifying session. I do not see them in this session at all right now, so I think they are not taking part in today's race. Vinay doesn't go any quicker, unfortunately. Next one across the line looks like, well, that'll be Mayer, actually.
And Mayer taking the last few corners quite nicely, but oh well, I say that now, he just went very wide coming into, that is corner 9 into 10, and then a sweeping right-hander into 11, and actually pinches you quite substantially. You wouldn't actually expect it given the exit, but you are very wide out of the exit as you come out of the 11. Does he go faster? Come on, Mayer, you need to put in the best lap you can. No.
Was not able to improve, so he'll stay about a quarter of a second off of Dudu Castro, who puts himself onto the pole. Nicely done here amongst our 19 drivers here today. So we're just letting the clock tick down here, and they're going to head off into a warm-up session. They'll get 5 minutes to try and practice before we get to the race itself. Last-ditch effort to find whatever speed you can in these little cars around this long track. Let's not forget about those pit stops either. I saw a few drivers, Ozzy, practicing the pit entry here. Well, hopefully they've been aware of where to enter the pit, because you can get a penalty if you try and do it a little too late.
Yes, penultimate corner, that's where you enter the pit lane from, and you gotta keep it tight because you're used to just flooring it down to the penultimate corner itself, but you have to take the inside line to the right-hand side, and then you just follow the pit entry lane and follow the title line, then get to the pit lane, brake nice and early before the bollards, or actually I'm not sure if you even need to brake to the bollards with these cars, but they are fun little cars. And then after that you do a pit stop and you get back out there. So it's not a particularly tricky pit entry, but it can fool you.
Indeed. This gives us a chance as well to go over our championship. And let's start with the Spec 1 drivers. And up at the top of that, Simon Mayer currently holding the lead over Arabian, but he still has not shown yet today. And this is going to put him a little bit behind the 8 ball. Niels Sinkowski has a lot to make up. He hasn't made as many of the races, and he's finding himself quite some distance behind. Now, Dudu Castro is interesting because he missed, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4 so far. And I believe they get 3 drop weeks, if I'm remembering correctly on the rules. So he does have a 0 to his name, but he's been extremely fast since he showed up, taking a couple podiums, but still no win. We'll see if he can turn that around today as Rocco Horvath rounds out your top 5. Rob, what about the Spec 2 class?
In Spec 2, Jeremy Lewis heads up ahead of Johan Batanga. Apparently, they're both tied for first, and that is correct simply because 432 is the magic number, and they both are smack against each other, tied absolutely to the brim since essentially the last 2 races. It's actually starting to heat up very quickly here for the boys in S2. In third place is Frederic Richtig. Fourth is Ian Gibson. 5, Jesus Rodriguez. A note, by the way, on Jeremy Lewis and Johan Batanga, one of the few drivers that have actually made every single race. So it is down to really drop weeks and who can make up the most points between now and the end of the season.
Unfortunately, Johan not here today, so it's now Jeremy Lewis, the only one to have made everyone. In the meantime, ASEAN has our Masters class. These are the older gentlemen that are racing.
Yes, indeed. And in there, it's Antonio Rees going out there like a spring chicken, despite the advanced age, 553 points ahead of Tom Gradwell, who's 147 behind. Leroy Kopech rounding out the top 3 with Jeff Canterford and Kenneth Batley 5th. And we saw Kenneth Batley being very fast in qualifying, so he might be a hot name to watch out for today.
Definitely going to be keeping my eye on him. As for today's race, it's the same as we've seen all season, but in case you are new, it is a simple 40-minute race in this series, and they also have a pit stop, as we mentioned earlier, but no tires required for that. That's actually been a talking point. A few drivers forgetting to uncheck that box, and they've gone up onto the jacks briefly, costing themselves time. It is open setup, though. As basic as these cars are, comfort is of the utmost importance. We'll see who's found the most in getting that car tweaked to where they can push it to the absolute limit here in round 9. Just a few more minutes to go before we're done with our warm-up. Not as many drivers getting out in this practice session, so I guess they must feel pretty good and ready to go.
You know, it's all in the eye in the beholder. You know, if you think you have plenty of practice in your car, of course you're going to be very confident when you come to the race and be about race pace. You know, it's a different ball game. You know, a lot of people are actually quite more confident with race pace over straight qualifying laps and trying to create some magic, pull some magic out of the hat. For these guys, however, I would say practice is key, especially around here. It may look simple, and the Mazdas go around here quite a lot. It still can throw a surprise for something like the Formula V, and especially with wheel-to-wheel racing, as tight as it is and as sensitive as it is. I mean, nobody wants to have a wheel pop off and fly off. Might be worth having a little bit of practice before the race.
Just get those last little niggles out of things. As a couple drivers definitely practicing that pit entry, trying to get the most out of it. Looks like, I was going to say Dantas behind them was practicing, but then he came to a halt before he got even to the cones. So whatever he was doing, he didn't really want to try and get the full practice in. And back out onto the lane we go with Rogenbuck, along with, looks like that is Brema, Batley, and Castro onto there once again. Just about 20 seconds left here, as there we see some of the tail-happy nature that Ozzy was talking about with Dudu Castro coming into Williams. Thankfully, he caught that. Let's hope that he doesn't have that happen in the race itself. With that, it looks like our warm-up is done, and it's time to head off into our grid. And we'll get to that here in a moment as the session ticks over. And once again, the 73 finds himself on the pole position for round 9. He still hasn't converted that into a win yet. Simon Mayer has multiple times at this point. He's on quite a tear of podiums, with 4 of them being wins. And Rocco Horvath is going to be starting in at 3rd. Paolo Gori will be P4 as Kenneth Batley starts in the 5th position. It's Niels Sinkowski who'll be on his outside. Leroy Coppage starts from 7th. Paolo Brem is P8, and Luca Leone is 9th. And rounding out the top 10, it is Jeremy Lewis.
And then back from there in 11th is going to be Marco Trespiti, and 12th is going to be Evandro Dantas. He'll need to get up there a little bit to try and secure some more points for himself. Frederic Richtig in 13th, and 14th is Flavio Andolo. Alexander Rogenbuck in 15th with Karl Burke 16th. Joe Marant in 17th with Antoine Vinet. Oh, by the way, Joe Marant just started way too early and the grid hasn't started moving yet, so he might be one to look out for coming into pits. Antoine Vinet in 18th, Charlie Rogers 19th, Mikhail Fitunik 20th, who's not taken to the grid, and Leiden Hughes is not also taken to the grid in 21st.
I think thankfully they don't get a penalty if they start their car a little bit, since they are doing a rolling start here. So I think Joe is going to be able to allowed to start. So we now come around Mike Knight corner. They're getting a little backed up there. A few of the drivers actually having to dodge to the side as we look at the weather here today. Not too hot, just about 87 Fahrenheit, 31 Celsius for the metric friends. And very mild wind out there today, but it's an early start for Dudu Castro. He is on the gas almost before they get out of the final corner. Green flag is out for round 9 of the Formula V Weekend Warriors. And look at the 3 wide for 4th place that is going on. Sinkowski, Batley, and Gori. Looks like Gori is going to be able to come into the corner first, as Batley second behind them and Sinkowski. But up at the front, it is Dudu Castro still leading.
Dudu Castro making full use of the fact that he controls the pace coming out of the final turn for Okayama, and Rocco Horvath just, being up and awake, and Simon Mayer being caught out was very unusual for Simon Mayer, but he usually does try and strike back. The Empire does strike back as Simon Mayer on the inside with Rocco Horvath on the outside. Very, very slow, actually. Bad corner 5 for him, with Paolo Gori also passing him there as they come down towards the hairpin right-hand turn 6. And Paolo actually was looking like he needed to defend from Rocco Horvath, but also behind is Sinkowski trying to set himself up. He's lost the place already to Kenneth Batley, but he will also try and strike back as soon as he can.
All right, so there's our first taste of what the drivers will be dealing with in terms of the slipstream. So far, so good from most of the field, but it looks like Ozzy may have caught at least one spinner so far. Oh, and Coppage is also off, out of Revolver. There you can see him returning without much contact. Let's go to Ozzy about the update for Lewis.
Yes, Jeremy Lewis spun coming into turn number 4, and he had a single car incident, no other contact. Looked very similar to what happened to Leroy Coppage right now. So starters from 7th place, Leroy Coppage and Jeremy Lewis, who started 10th, both off, no damage. They are able to keep going, but lost a lot of time.
And we've already finished the first lap as Castro comes back onto the main straight, and Mayer ducking way down to the bottom. Now, why is he doing that? He's not close enough to pass here, unless he's trying to break the draft a little bit from Gory behind, but that seems a little fruitless with how tightly packed everybody is here in the top 6, essentially.
I don't think he wants to give Paolo Gory any more of a chance of overtaking him than he can give. By the way, Luca Leone passing up into 10th, so he's now in the top 10, but stick here because Simon May is sort of in a very encumbrant position because he's got Dudu Castro ahead of him and he's got a fast car of Paolo Gory behind. On the inside though, here he goes, ekes it in. Dudu Castro once again, another turn 5, very badly taken by another driver. Unfortunately, it was Dudu Castro. He's let it all go to waste as Simon May is on the inside.
Coming down towards the hairpin, and behind them they're going to go 2 by 2 as well. That's Gory trying to defend on Horvath, breaking into the hairpin. Meyer can't completely get it done. Castro hangs tough. It'll switch back to the left-hand side through Revolver. Mayer has to try again later as Horvath does get ahead of Gory.
That was Gory having to let it go, and Rocco Horvath is now in the hot seat for 3rd as he sits behind Simon Mayer. Rocco Horvath, of course, being all top 4 and top 5 actually are part of the same S1 class, so they're all fighting for position, even though it is, you know, encumbrance to the championship that we have several other drivers around Simon Mayer right now. They have every right to race him. Oh, a little bit of a slide on the inside. I thought that was Dudu Castro actually sliding, but no, it was just his engine kicking out some smoke.
Yeah, pretty typical for these Formula Vs. Something that iRacing models since they're kind of notorious for it in real life. And Mayer drops back from Castro a little bit. Wasn't the greatest of exits out of the final turn. Dantas takes the fastest lap in the meantime. Right now, our highest driver in the Spec 2 is Paulo Brem. He just got demoted down to 8th as Dantas overtook him. But our highest driver in the Masters is Kenneth Batley, the only one in amongst the top 6 group that isn't in the Spec 1 class.
Well, I mean, he may not be part of the big boys up in the top 5, but he can still hang with them. He can still absolutely go as fast as they can. He's proven that multiple times throughout both series that we've covered so far, and it's all a case of if you can do it. But that, by the way, that's a 3 wide almost. Simon Mayer on the middle. No, sorry, Rocco Horvath tucking back in. Simon Mayer on the inside, coming down to turn 6 right-hand side. He'll have it this time.
And he even covers off the left-hander coming towards Revolver just to make sure Castro can't do anything. Maybe looks at an over-under, but he gets backed up as Rocco Horvath as well checks up behind him. They now come on to the short chute coming into Redmond and Hobbs, where things slow up with double hairpins uphill and cars that don't have a lot of oomph. It is going to be all about momentum through these.
Momentum they need and momentum they will have if they play it right. Dudu Castro, by the way, that gap is now forming. Simon Mayer has been unleashed. He's been able to make good use of the corners, which is proving bad news for Dudu Castro because he needs to get back up there. He needs to be within about 0.3 of a second to have a chance at striking at the slipstream of Simon Mayer's car. But he had a much better exit coming out of the turn, but he's not going to be able to make that effective. He's already closed 0.2, but he's nowhere near.
Just not quite there once again. And they complete lap 3 into lap 4 now. We're getting well into the race. Drivers trying to size each other up, figure out who is going to be able to save fuel, who really needs to attack in this group. I suspect many of those that are not with the top two are just going to sit back and maybe try and see if this race comes to them.
And sometimes it's better to do that than to have the equivalent of, you know, a tired car at the end of the race when your tires are absolutely shot through. And Rocco Horvath is going to be performing the former because he wants the race to come to him rather than him let the race come to him. And in the inside he goes, makes it effective and makes a move.
So that's 2 positions and 2 laps for Dudu Castro. Ozzy, I have to wonder if he's maybe trying to play the long game himself. Is he letting them have these spots potentially?
I mean, he's not fighting too hard, is he? He knows that there are still pit stops to go. He might be saving just a tiny bit of fuel, even if that's not an effect, really. These cars use so little fuel, but every little matters. And he knows that this race won't be decided in the first 10 or 20 minutes. It's going to be decided on last 5 minutes. So he spent the first couple of laps watching, observing, seeing how these drivers are getting on with this race, seeing how the pack is starting to form. Now he knows, and he knows that, okay, I can stay here in P number 3, and most likely this is a pace I'm gonna be comfortable with. And it's all about comfort for him at this stage. And watch out for him to try and make some moves later on in this event, maybe after the pit stop cycle has completed.
Horvath now taking the fast lap of the race. Believe that is a bonus point. Oh, we get a switch around as Gory also going by Dudu Castro. Once again, not really fighting it too hard. That's down to 4th place as well. Was it potentially a lucky lap for Dudu to get the pole, or what is happening in this race? I've been also kind of checking in on Brem and Dantas, who are sitting in 7th and 8th. I don't think they're catching. Oh, and we got somebody off. That's Charlie Rogers out of turn 1.
Bit of a mistake and a bit of an issue for him as I just look back. That is Dudu Castro. I think he started to wake up very quickly now. He's just seen what had happened. He probably saw his timing sheets and said, oh dear.
A little bit of contact and more contact for Gory. First with Castro, now with Sinkowski. They're going to continue this battle on wheel to wheel down through Revolver. Oh, he's squeezing him out and off into the grass. He gets hit another time. Sinkowski gets spun around as Batley didn't have many places to go.
Poor Sinkowski. It just feels like he just got the short end of the stick there, and the short end of the stick was not just poked at him, it was thrown at him, and it really is not his day right there and then, and he's just now entanglement to survive losing to the top 10.
Yeah, 3 wide into Redmond. Rijdik, and who goes off course. Frederic gets it back on. He's fighting with Leone to his right-hand side. Luca gets pinched down. He's going to give it up. Frederic stays within the top 10. Sinkowski recovers to 9th.
Neil Sinkowski doing his best to come back through the field. Well, he really is trying to push it back towards a favorable result, but it's so far back. He's 11 seconds behind, and that gap between 8th and 7th, so the gap between Flavio and Dolo, the car 415, and the car 505 of Paolo Brem, is currently 3.5 seconds. I'm not sure if you have to be the top tier driver to do that, but I really do feel unless you have an extra turbo on your engine, I don't think you're closing that gap anytime soon.
Oh, speaking of gaps, Ozzy, it looks like our front runners have unfortunately been separated as well.
Yes, you look at Dudu Castro, and he's now 1.4 seconds behind, and he's fighting Paolo Gori so far. Gori is trying to pass him on the inside, and the front runners look to be going side by side, so that no, actually Horvath doesn't want to go side by side through there. I think they're starting to realize, Mike Mayer and Horvath are starting to realize that, hey, we got a gap ahead of him. If we just keep it calm and consistent, couple of these laps, then we can actually drop both Gori and Castro, because they seem to be still fighting over that final podium position. So that this is going to be very interesting, and I think this could be one of those times where we can see how much pace Dudu Castro actually has in this race. We know that he's got it in qualifying show, but race and qualifying, two different things altogether.
Certainly is. Some drivers good at both, some just one. And some like us, well, me at least, are not good at either. So as we watch them come down to turn one once again, not seeing any fight in the spirit of Rocco Horvath. He's going to stay behind Mayer. And I think we have a pitter. Paulo Brem is on the lane.
At the back of the group that he was part of, he definitely needed it. By the way, Neil Sinkowski on the inside of Flavio Andola makes his move felt. Now, Paulo Brem's pit stop definitely is warranted, and is also a good thing, because if he thought that he was, you know, at the back of a group and not going to be able to move without a big difficulty, he's gone. Ooh.
Yep, that was Frederic, who once again was abusing the track limits a little bit. And they do have incident limits in this series. Every 12 incidents, they get a drive-through penalty. And then they've got a DQ limit at 18, so he can't really do that too often.
Needs to keep it on the tarmac and not on the grass, because unfortunately these cars are not rally cars.
No, they are not. Although I will tell you that they're quite fun on the Mount Washington dirt section. So they're worth at least getting out there. They're just a little slippery. So we come off of Piper once again. Last time through, Castro, who is currently in third, ran a 51 flat. Horvath a 50.8. So still a little bit faster than them, but they look closer to me. Not sure if this is just my eyes deceiving me or what.
You know, I would actually say you're correct on that one. But how closer is the issue? Because it'd have to be much closer to prove effective. And by the way, just as I say, talking of closer, Rocco Horvath, here he comes. Here he comes, very, very close to the rear end of the car number 5, Simon Mayer. He actually closed the gap quite extensively. He's also gotten another car that's very fast behind him. Dudu Castro setting the fast lap. The first car to set the second car to set a 149, but he set a 149.5, so he's now the fast car out there. He closed the gap by about a second that lap.
Now let's take a look at the lap comparison on that. Castro really showing what my eyes were seeing now. It just needed a lap to register. And yeah, 0.8 of a second faster than the leader. So I think Dudu has put to rest the question of whether or not he's fast enough to back up that qualifying effort. Horvath going to try and back up his attempts to take the lead away from Mayer. And, well, I don't think Simon fought that one.
It's better than not fight it, because if you fight it and continuously fight it, you're going to have Dudu Castro ready to spring into action, and he'll have a spring in his step, given the fact that he had difficulty all the way before with people just sort of being able to sort of just pass by him with ease. He just had a few couple of bad corners, and I know I said a few and a couple in the same sentence. It's a few times where that's happened, where he's had bad corners and he's had to let people go, but he'll be fired up right now as he comes around with the group of 3 towards turn 9 or turn 10 into turn 11 for another lap.
Yeah, and they're catching lap traffic. This is Burke, who's already taken his pit stop along with Brem, but they have not taken theirs, and he will still get the blue flags. They are advisory only. The question is, could he be a little bit of a thorn in the side of our front runners? Horvath will be the first to reach him, it looks like, unless we get a change around with him and Mayer. And I can say that Castro very much has caught the group. He is within striking distance. Gory, I don't know if we could really call it that yet. He's still about a second behind.
Keeping in tow, though, that's the main thing. He needs to keep within the group as much as he can. If he can't keep within the group, there's going to be, well, it's going to be a nightmare for him if he continuously can't catch and come up to speed with Dudu Castro. It's around 1 second right now.
Here we go again. This is where the slipstream seems to be the most effective. Mayer is going to look to the inside. Horvath not defending. Does Castro want either of those spots? Nope, he is content to sit behind. And Mayer is going to take that back. Now, these drivers have been up towards the front pretty much the whole race, but not everybody has had that blessing, Ozzy. What's been going on with some of our drivers who spun early?
Yes,
Absolutely.
Leroy Kopic is in 12th position right now. He's 4 seconds behind Marco Trespidi, but his lap time still looking pretty good. He's been below 151. He did a 151.1 last time around compared to Trespidi, who did a 151.9. So he's catching him at a rate of almost a full second per lap. And in his tow is Jeremy Lewis, who also had troubles early on. He put a 150.9. So these drivers currently in 12th and 13th are looking to make some recovery drives, and looking at the lap times, they might be touching on a top 10 position today despite their difficulties.
Onto the front stretch once again as that bright yellow machine tries to find his way forward. Luca Leone just ahead of Frederic. That is 10th and or 9th and 10th positions rather. Oh, did we lose? Oh no, we're having some connection issues with a couple drivers, it appears.
Sorry, just to say, Paulo Brent just towed.
Oh, and that was contact with Charlie Rogers.
I just noticed that, and he's broken his suspension. His car is leaning to one side. Front left is broken. I can just give you the very quickest of rundowns. I just noticed this. I was so surprised. I was thinking to myself, why is he in the pits already? And
It was hard contact. We can get the replay between Rogers in the 223 and Brem in the 505. Again, they have a spare car, but I think they're going to be set very far behind considering they had to take a tow. They really could not drive it back. You'll see it here. Some blinking, which probably didn't help him try to make avoiding action. And wheel completely ripped off the suspension.
Yeah, that is the reason why they have the safety features in modern open wheel cars. The wheels will go flying, and that is one scary wheel to go flying, especially, and that was very hard contact.
Oh, I remember well the days before tethers were common on open wheelers, and I remember some very sad races where, unfortunately, it didn't mean the death of drivers, but spectators, actually. So it's a good thing that we have gone into that sort of realm in terms of safety to try and make sure that everybody can enjoy racing. And down into the first corner, there was a lot of swapping around on the backstretch. Last time through, Castro to the front, Horvath is in second, Mayer is down to third, Gory's still fourth, but he has finally reeled them in.
And he's made good on the warning that I gave. So he's caught back up, and the reason why was because Simon Mayer had a very slow last lap, 150, 1209, and getting passed by Castro, and Rocco Horvath shuffled him backwards towards Paolo Gori, and Paolo making full use of the gap now because he's got slipstream. It's like a nice chess piece, you know. You have the queen in check, or the king in check in front of you in P1, but all of the bishops and the rooks are all there ready to take the strike and put the king in check. And so he needs, Dudu Castro in this case needs to be on his toes.
Breaking down into the hairpin. He just shows his nose a little bit, but decides not to make the move as it switches back. Also, a small update. We didn't think that Vucinic would attend today because he wasn't in the session. He is now, and he has taken to the track. He's a lap down, though, in the 3:14. Meanwhile, top four into Redmond and Hobbs once again. Down to 20 minutes left on the clock. This is the halfway mark. Do any of them try to get out of this train and see if they can go quicker on their own?
That is the thing. We do have, well, we used to have the data from Paulo Brem, who would have provided that sort of benchmark, but because he had his accident, he's kind of shuffled out. I actually do want to bring in Ossian for this discussion because he probably would be the greatest person to talk about this. Ossian, is it going to be a good pit stop for these boys? Is it earlier is better or later is better?
Well, if you go by conventional race strategy, the later you pit, the better it is, because you don't want to be carrying extra fuel in your car. And that's what you're going to be doing if you're going to be pitting early, because you're always fueled as much as you can. Nobody's really starting under-fueled. We are watching Flavio Andallo in the pits at the same time. He is making that early stop. I'm not quite sure why, because he wasn't in too much of a battle, but he was kind of stuck behind Nils Sinkowski and wanted to get out of that, so that's potentially why he is taking the stop. But yeah, later is better, but strategically, if you're looking at the leading quartet right now, you're looking at Castro, Horvath, Meyer, Ayer and Gory, then if I would be Dudu Castro, I would be looking to make that pit stop early, because he has the pace. Out of these four, I think he has the greatest pace, and that's why if anyone is looking to make that move early, it's going to be him.
Seen a few more in and out of the pits. Jeremy Lewis done with his stop, and Dallo has been in and out a little bit longer for Flavio, though. Not sure what caused that, and Merritt has pitted a few laps ago himself.
Rocco Horvath, by the way, he's now in the lead. He made the pass while we were just coming to the end of the pit stop discussion, Joe. So just a very nice clean move. It didn't really he didn't really sort of fight it, which is a good thing, but that group getting ever closer.
And continuing to fight one another here and there. It's not frantic. It's not quite as crazy as we've seen with some series before and some tracks with this car. But they're not exactly working together too hard. They want to be in that top spot, have that track position. They come through Williams now. They have really put the rest of the field behind them. Kenneth Batley, the next one down, is 7.5 seconds behind in fifth.
By the way, Batley, while he is quite a big distance behind, he is the lead amateur, or the S2, sorry, I should be rather be saying, and he's not putting in too bad of laps himself. He is doing good, decent lap time, so he just needs to keep it there. He just needs to keep it in that pocket of space that he's formed himself in, and he'd be doing pretty well for the rest of the race, and I'd say that would be him very happy. And oh, crikey, that is Dudu Castro take the Empire striking back between himself and Rocco Horvath.
Gets up the inside, down through hairpin. Horvath can't hold him back. Yeah, he made a good move down to there. Wasn't a late lunge, really showed himself. But once again, not seeing the 14 defend too hard on screen before. We were watching Trespidi and Coppage. They aren't fighting one another hard either. They've been kind of swapping back and forth. But good to see Trespidi looking at a potential top 10 since he is a newcomer to this series. Out of Hobbs, very different lines. This looks like Horvath intends to come in. No. Ooh, is he pulling it? Was he trying to sell them a dummy there? That was an interesting move.
I'm actually kind of wondering what, myself and yourself were, I think, on the same wavelength throughout that last exchange. Was why is Rocco Horvath going on the inside? And I think it was because Simon Mayer is trying to threaten his inside position. And if Simon Mayer had the slipstream all the way through the last few turns, he could have had a chance at Rocco Horvath coming through this section here in particular.
Oh, Frederic in the 252 is down into his pit stall here in just a moment, looking for it, and he's on his marks. So shouldn't see him go up on the jacks. Looks like he managed to remember to keep the box unchecked there, so it's fuel only for Frederic. He's out with about a 10.5 second pit stop. Meanwhile, top four, still no takers on the stops yet. We've got maybe 3 to 4 minutes left before we expect all of them to come in.
Paolo Gori should honestly, if he can think he can get the gap, I would say he would be perfect, be ahead of Frederic Richtig, the car number 252, if he pitted now, and he would have had 1 or 2 laps of clean air just racing by himself. He's stuck behind these guys. They're all doing mid to low 150s, but there's nothing to say that any other driver can, not turn up the wick, and as they say, and really, fire the car on all cylinders. Well, I mean, the engine's not going to provide a lot of
All
power.
4 of them.
Yeah, all 4 of them with as limited a power as they have. But I mean, you can still have amazing drives when you're not harassed or harangued by any other driver. Here we go with Dudu Castro, by the way. Rocco Horvath looking to see and looking to threaten.
He's pulling the slipstream on Castro. He's gaining on him. Does he show his nose into turn 1? A little bit harder to pass into there. It's a faster corner than you expect, and no, it's not going to be there. And he's going to stay put in line. We got at least another taker down on pit lane, which has been interesting watching that strategy, Ozzy, with some of them coming in early.
Yes, Leroy Kopecs right now coming to the pit lane. We mentioned him earlier, had a spin early on, and then he decides to pit now. Had great pace up until this point. And briefly, if I may, before we get to the melee up front again, we had a fight earlier on with Lewis, Roggenbach, and Andalo, and it was Andalo who was pitting early on and got stuck behind the battle duo, and that cost him a lot of time. So pitting early might not be the preferred strategy. Back to you, Joe, in the lead.
Yep, side by side between Horvath and Castro. This is becoming a trend. I think Mayer, with him sitting back in third for some time, is going to be able to take well advantage of this. And Gory, don't count him out either. But out of Revolver, Castro and Horvath have been exchanging the points, and they're down to 13 minutes left to go. If they don't pit this time, I think they've only got probably 1 more lap before that is it for the pit window.
And extremely close for the pit window it would be. None of these drivers that I can see looking at making the move. I'm just, yeah, none of them. What's going on?
Well, the fuel might be a little bit better than we anticipated. I figured the lap takes so long that they'd probably want to pit this time, since we usually see them go to 12 to 13 minutes left. But they're all going to stick it out.
I'm so surprised that none of them, absolutely none of them, have decided, hey, let's come into the pits, let's do the undercut. It's just so... I don't know. I don't know how to explain it, Joe. It's odd.
Yeah, I would have thought somebody would try and do something. In the meantime, it sounds like Ozzy's got some information as far as the fuel usage goes, as we watch Leone down to his stall.
Yep, Leone and Marco Trespidi also pitting, but yes, Okayama is one of those tracks where fuel usage can be calculated very well. It's a track that doesn't use that much fuel. You can save a little bit into the hairpins, and in general the fuel usage is lower due to the low grip conditions that Japanese tarmac has. So that's another factor that plays into it. I have a story from 2015 in the GD3 Sprint Series, which, as you know, is a fueling series, mandatory refueling pit stops with GD3 cars. There was a Finnish driver called Roope Turkkila who did the races who was all out in the front, winning the races by 10-15 seconds, and then somebody asked him, Roope, when did you pit, because I didn't see it, and he mentioned last week.
Well, there you go. As that was interesting this time into the hairpin. Not these two, as only one is in, and that's Dudu Castro. I was going to say, not only did Horvath and Castro go side by side, but Mayer had to defend from Gory that time. But that is kind of a moot point at this stage, because Castro now decides to effect his stop. Will he come out in clear air? Trying to see what the traffic is like behind him. Looks like Sinkowski also going to join him.
And also, that is the exact person that has pulled the trigger. Paolo Gori should have been that person, but Dudu Castro making it absolutely effective. And it's just going to be his race to win at this point, because he doesn't have to excuse me. He doesn't have to do anything other apart from just put in good laps, because he's in a gap. He's all on his own.
Absolutely. That worked out perfect for him. Also, for fans of Frederic Rijsdijk, he unfortunately had a spin out of Piper. He hit the wall. He's called it a day and parked it. And up at the front, well, there you go. Now that we've seen the pit stops happen, Mayer says, now's the time to go. I'm done saving fuel. He'll attack Horvath and take the lead away. Will that help him at all in Castro, since he didn't lose time in the braking zone? That little bit of slipstream keeping him within touch of the 73.
And a good time to absolutely push the car to its limits, and to also get a good push out so he can get to the pits first.
Absolutely, that valuable track position. And one, but only one, is into pit lane again. Wow, Ozzy was not kidding about this being a good track for fuel. They're now down to less than 9 minutes left to go in this race.
Rocco Horvath and Paolo Gori. Honestly, Paolo Gori at the back of that group should have executed a move into the pits. He absolutely has let the ball drop. And Simon Mayer probably laughing to the bank with that. By the way, Kenneth Batley in the pits. And Dudu Castro is absolutely laughing himself. He will probably take the lead of this race.
We'll need to see where Mayer comes out in regards to him. Finishing up his pit stop, he accelerates away about 10.1 seconds with Castro just going by now. And, oh, I think he lost a bit in the exchange.
Just under a second. Just under a second slower in the pits. Did he have any issues in the pits, Ossian?
None that I could see. It seems like Castro just put up an excellent lap in, but also Meyer. I always get my Mayers and Myers confused. Excuse me about that, but Meyer might have been a little bit more conservative on the fuel. He might have had a little bit more fuel put in than Castro, and that cost him roughly less than a second. So Castro was timing it perfectly, calculating it perfectly, whereas Meyer was more like, you know, it's not going to matter 1 second, but it just might, because now Castro has been able to clear Car Berkey and Meyer is still behind him. So Castro is ahead and not losing time in traffic either.
Oof, bad news for Simon, who's also able to get by Carl now, although in a little bit of a twistier part of the track, down to 7 minutes left. And finally, Rocco Horvath pits in, and he has taken it right up to the line. He gets it down to the pit speed limit at the mark. He maximized that to the greatest extent. Gori is going to follow him. This will be decisive for the race victory.
And just to note, by the way, it's going to be absolutely critical now. Just in his box goes Rocco Horvath, just in his box goes Paolo Gori. If they had taken any other liberties, they had to take it now. By the way, Rocco Horvath already out of his box. Paulo is stuck in. Where is Rocco Horvath coming from? He might just be leading this race.
He is. He got out just as Dudu Castro got on the brakes down into the first corner. Mayer about 2.2 seconds behind, and he is about the same distance ahead of Gori. So the masters of the pit stop today are Dudu Castro and Rocco Horvath. That is what has given them the distance to now duke it out between themselves and decide the winner.
Absolutely just pandemonium for Paolo Gori, Simon Mayer, and Rocco Horvath especially. Rocco Horvath just got blindsided. Dudu Castro, just effective racing, even with only just under a second faster, still can't close the gap.
Well, Castro just took that lead away into Atwood, so he is now the point man as Rocco Horvath follows him through hairpin and into revolver. We were watching from the gearbox down the hill into Piper. Now they've got 5 minutes left to get this sorted out. So how many laps do we have then? I think it's about 3 to go at the line.
It will be about that. It's 5 minutes on the clock. Excuse me, 5 minutes on the clock, and it will be an average a lap time of around 150. So yes, it will be 3 laps to go.
And critically, they're also ahead of Vucinic who was a lapped car, so they don't have to deal with that. He has still got Mayer behind him as we watch off the back of Dudu Castro. The white and blue of Rocco Horvath closing on him, but not willing to risk it right now.
And by the way, Paolo Gori's back in the pits.
Oh no. Either he short-fueled it or he's got a penalty that he's serving.
Oh, he's up on the jacks. What?
This is...
Guys, I might have some information on that, and the information is regarding that because on iRacing, the options reset, and yes, he absolutely was. He was speeding out of the pit lane. Paolo Gori is serving a penalty, but because the options reset when exiting the pits, means that he asked for all 4 tires, forgot to uncheck that due to confusion in getting his penalty probably, and that's why he's sitting in the pit lane for a long time. Don't forget that he will also need to serve his penalty, which I believe will be 15 or 25 seconds, so Paolo Gori way outside of the top 10 once this is complete.
Yeah, it just compounds. You can't take service when you're serving an iRacing black flag. Oh boy, and this is not going to be good points for him today. But what about Castro and Horvath? Rocco trying to get himself into the hunt, back into the hunt really for the championship. Dudu Castro recovering from missing a number of races early in the season. And they exit out of Mike Knight into the final corner. This is going to be 2 to go at the line as they cross.
Now, what I've just been thinking, Joe, Rocco Horvath and has gotten himself a 2-second gap against Simon Mayer. Who did we say at the start of this race needed all the points? Simon Mayer. Yeah, he's all the way back. But now Rocco Horvath in the number 14 car can provide the biggest upset this side of the century by also overtaking Dudu Castro on the last lap. He's in the prime position. All he needs to do is sit as close as he can to Dudu Castro over the next 2 laps. So this one is going to be the second to last, the penultimate lap, as Murray Walker would say. This is the penultimate lap. And then come to white flag lap, make the overtake on this back straight and hold it as much as he can.
We've seen they are able to make passes, which it looks like Horvath wants to make now. So it becomes a question, does he want to be in second place on the final lap coming up to this very corner, or does he want to be in the lead and have to defend?
It's going to be exceptionally difficult.
Down out of Piper once again. Now, has Mayer been catching up to them, actually? It's 1.7 seconds. Wasn't it at 2.5 before? This was, let's see, last few laps for Castro, 50.2, 50 flat. Mayer with a 50.3 and a 50.1. Ooh, that's hard to judge. They're pretty close to even, but it doesn't seem like Simon's been catching up according to that.
Dudu Castro closing in the gap. It is now down to 0.4 of a second. He did let it go out by about a 10th, but it is going to be a quite difficult one. He needs to have the next 5 corners perfect, and keeping it perfect, absolutely perfect right now. And he's closing the gap. Here he comes.
All right, white flag is out. This is the last ditch effort, and he's going to show his nose early. Castro wants to be ahead, it seems. Will he attack him into Atwood, and will he regret that then as they come up the hill and along the backstretch? Defending, Rocco Horvath covers off the inside. Could we see the over-unders? Both of them hit the brakes. He ducks underneath, but Castro doesn't have the speed. He'll still get the slipstream as they start to pick it up, already 80 miles an hour as they head down the back straightaway.
Back to 1/10. Back to 300ths. Dudu Castro is on the inside. Correction, that's going to be Dudu Castro on the outside, inside. In they go through turn 6 on the right hander, left hand side now, still side by side. Turn 7 into turn 8, just pipping the post. Is Rocco Horvath. He makes the pass.
Unbelievable stuff from Rocco Horvath was not going to be denied today. And there's very few opportunities from here for Castro to get it back. Will he find himself once again the bridesmaid here in this series? He tries getting a very wide entry into Hobbs. Can he get the exit? It looks very good, but he's on the wrong side of the track. It's two right-handers here. Oh, and he can't get down to the apex. I'm not sure that it's there unless he gets an incredible over-under. It is possible. It's a long front stretch. He's got a great run. He might have him. Does Dudu Castro have this back? No. He starts to fall off. Is he out of fuel? Horvath is going to win, and Castro barely takes second by 600ths over Mayer.
Oh, hard-stopping stuff. I think Dudu Castro missed his gear shift.
Oh.
And oh my days.
We might need a replay on that one on board Castro to see if we can figure out if that's the case or did it sputter at the end. But looks like Batley wound up a very distant fourth behind them, with Lewis and Andalo coming home with Lewis in seventh and Andalo in eighth. Let's take a look at the replay real quick on Castro and see if we can solve this mystery.
I'm perplexed because he should have had it.
Yeah, you're right. He missed a shift. Oh, man. A frustrating time to have a bobble. But in racing, sometimes you got to be perfect if you want to be a winner. But that'll take us to a quick break here on the Global Sim Racing Channel. We'll come back with the unofficial results as well as driver interviews, so make sure and stick around.
This is iRacing, the world's premier online racing game. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat to experience today's newest form of competitive motorsport, virtual racing, all from your home PC. Race virtually in endorsed series from NASCAR, IndyCar, IMSA, the World of Outlaws, Aussie Supercars and more. Take on legendary circuits like Daytona, Silverstone and the Nürburgring. Join iRacing's global online racing community and get on track today at iRacing.com.
Welcome back to Okayama. We just watched round 9 in the Weekend Warriors Formula V, and it was Rocco Horvath who took a win, and in fact, that is his first win of the season. He had to fight Dudu Castro for it. He was also looking for victory number 1, but a missed shift has cost him in the end. Simon Mayer nearly took that second place away. He was very tight behind Dudu and did get a podium. That will help advance him forward, except it just doesn't get him the max points over Foreign Arabian in the championship. As Kenneth Bately was in fourth, Neil Sinkowski, a bit of a quiet P5. Evandro Dantas from 12th to 6th. Nicely done there, sir, as Jeremy Lewis finishes 7th and Andalo P8. Then it was Leone in 9th, and Trespidi, first time here that we can remember, gets a top 10.
Then down in 11th is going to be Leroy Coppage. In 12th, Alexander Roggenbuck. In 13th, Joe Marant. In 14th is going to be poor man that had the speeding penalty, Paolo Gori. He should have come in earlier. He wouldn't have had too much pressure on himself, but all the wrong things lined up. The stars were misaligned perfectly to give him a penalty, and down into 40th went Carbrick 15th, Paolo Brem 16th, 17th was Charlie Rogers. Mikhail Vijunik did take to the grid, but only a lap down already, and finishes 2 laps down in 18th. Frederik Richtig in 19th after an accident, and Antoine Vinet in 20th. Note that Lyndon Hughes did not take to the grid today.
And that'll take us to our interviews, which includes our winner, Rocco Horvath. And Rocco, congratulations. First win on the series, on the season, rather. and you had to fight for it a little bit. But talk about the pit stops, because we noticed it seemed like you really pushed that pit entry. Do you feel like that helped make the difference?
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you for the congrats. And yeah, definitely, I was practicing the pit entry quite a bit during practice. And yeah, I found a way to do it like that first kink completely flat out. And I think that, I don't know, it could have made a difference. I think, I ended up coming out ahead of Dudu by just maybe a half a second, but then probably like 2 seconds to Simon. So yeah, I think it could have made a difference.
Well, yeah, definitely put you in that great position at the end. But when it came to that last lap, you were leading, and we thought that the slipstream was enough that a pass would probably easily be done into the hairpin. That wasn't the case. You fought back. Did you feel confident you could defend successfully?
No, I wouldn't say confident, but yeah, no, I think the smarter way to do it would have been to wait to the last lap and go for a last lap pass. But I don't know, I felt like doing it a little differently and taking it on the second to last lap. And then I knew I was going to have to defend the inside like crazy. But then I messed up turn 1 on on the last lap, and Dudu was right on me going into the entry to the back straight. But yeah, and then we were just side by side for quite a bit there, and I think he would have had me at the line. Honestly, he ended up missing a gear, but I don't know. It would have been really, really close either way.
Attendance has been a little spotty this season. Are we going to see more of you in the final few rounds between Interlagos, Mid-Ohio, and the rest?
Yeah, I've been a little busy just with life, and then some special events as well. But I think I should be able to make the last 3 races of the season. So yeah, I'm gonna try my best.
All right. Well, we hope to see you more. You certainly gave us a great fight today. Congratulations. And is there anybody you want to shout out for today's victory?
Just the Weekend Warrior Series, and of course GSRC for broadcasting the race. Love watching the broadcasts back, and yeah, just thanks a lot, guys.
That was Rocco Horvath, winner here today after starting from 3rd on the grid. The man who came up just shy and maybe is a little mad at his gearbox today is Dudu Castro, as Rob has caught up with him.
A bit of a doo-doo from the gearbox for Dudu Castro, but Castro, you did an absolute cracker of a race out there. It was great to see you be able to duke it out with the big boys and duke it out as well as you did. Take us through it with yourself. What happened at the line there?
It's serious, you want to know? Oh, wow, man. Well, I just figured out this morning that I could be faster with no aids. So I was not using auto blip and anything like that. I was shifting gears, like the old school. And, I don't know. I think I got a little bit confused with the pedals, and, instead of pressing the clutch, I just did on the brakes. So it's, too much tension on to trying to pass him as much as I could. I was having a good pace. He was having too. So I know I need to do something on the turns before, but it happened, man. It happened. Yeah, I'm really disappointed for that.
Yeah, it's just a case of more so, how would you put it? Just a case of these things happen and it's a racing issue. But up until that point, as I said before, you were doing very well. At the pit stops, though, you were very quick, but you were pipped to the post by Rocco Horvath. What was your mind going through? Like, what thoughts were you thinking of when you saw Rocco had actually had a blistering time in the pits?
Well, I knew I was having a good pace, and as much time as I took, as I would take on the track before the pit, I knew wouldn't be an advantage for me. So I tried to do the pit when I was in first, and that what happened. I think I put 1 liter more. That's why he came up. He came back in front of myself. But yeah, I think I did. I still. This is my third race in this car. I'm still learning how to do the best pit. I just learned it this morning how to drive with the clutch. So I should know that, but I never did that before. So it was a kind of desperate but funny at the end of the day.
Sure thing. Now, before I go any further, I do need to ask you, how was it battling with three other guys out there on the track?
Well, it was tough, man. The good thing is Rocco and Simon, they couldn't be so much clearer than they were. They did a great job. Early in the beginning, I took fourth place. One guy was holding me a bit, and then I told him, "Hey, we're gonna lose those guys in front." But I think he was wise, and then let I pass, and then we all came back. But it was fun, and this car is fun. This car is a car that you cannot touch sideways. So on the last lap was really tough, not trying to do wheel with the wheel with Rocco. But yeah, I'm trying to. I'm happy at the end of the day with the second place. A little bit disappointed because the first place just came through my hands like a sand, but it happens, man. Yeah, I hope I can come back on next week. No, next week I won't be here, but in 15 days I will be back here with you guys again. And once again, thank you so much. Thanks for the sponsor. I know how tough it is for keeping this league up. Thank you guys for all the amazing, the amazing broadcasts and how cool is it to watch later the race.
Well, you got the shoutouts for me done already, but if you have anything else, just we'd like to hear who made this race possible for you.
Oh, it's my wife and my kids. I'm a little bit lucky today because they have a party, so I'm by myself with the dogs here. So I had a little bit time to practice, but yeah, all went fine. And once again, thank you so much for you guys for let us having fun on a Saturday afternoon.
Thank you very much, Dudu Castro. That was Dudu Castro in what could have been, but he definitely deserved that second place. Back to you, Joe.
It sounds like the dogs may have helped him take that second. But in the meantime, we've got one more. Aussies caught up with our third place finisher, Simon Mayer.
Yes, I hope Dudu's wife doesn't have to ask who let the dogs out later on tonight. But yes, Simon Mayer, it was another great result for you. You're just keeping that podium streak going. Before we headed here, you got 4 wins from the 5 races, and this is, I believe, your 7th podium in a row. How was it out there today?
Hi guys, nice to be here first of all. Yeah, it was tough out there to be honest. Congratulations to Rocco and also to Dudu for a great race. They both drove exceptionally well.
Yeah, so Okayama circuit, we saw a 4-car lead battle. We saw a bit of drafting, and we saw that Dudu had an awesome pace in qualifying. So, how much strategizing and how much fuel saving was there, or was it just battling from the get-go?
No, the first few laps I was at the front, pushing the lead, pushing the train along, and trying to keep in P2 at minimum because I wasn't sure how many cars were behind us, so I don't really want to get too far behind. And then I think I can't remember which lap it was. Dudu went from third to first on the hairpin, and Rocco also got past me on that same corner. So I went from first to third, and then I just decided to sit back and save some fuel. But to be honest, that kind of caught me out because when it came to my fuel stop, I wasn't exactly sure how much fuel to put in because the fuel calculator was not that accurate. So to be honest, I could have run another 2 laps at the end of the race. I put far too much fuel in, which put me then back after the pit stop, and it's all catch up from then.
No Forens Arabian out there today, which means that you'll be extending your championship lead, even if we still have to take drop weeks into calculation. Was this something you knew before the race, or were you looking forward to battling it out with Forens today?
No, always nice to drive with Florence. also with Rocco and Dudu, they're all real fun guys to drive with. So no, we missed Florence today. Hope he's back next week.
Yeah, let's hope so. Next week we will be heading to Autodromo Jose Carlos Pace, Interlagos, where the Formula One series is also in this weekend. Well, that about concludes our interview, but Simon Mayer, if you have anyone you would like to give a shout out to, then feel free to do so.
Cheers, guys. Thanks for the broadcast. Thanks to my wife, and thanks to my 2-year-old daughter who keeps coming in and tapping me on the shoulder saying, "Dada's driving." See you next week.
Oh, thank you for the interview, Simon.
Well, that's very cute hearing from Simon. He's very focused then if he can deal with that and still be this fast. But we're going to close out with a big thank you to our sponsor, 42 Stitches. Check them out at 42stitches.com and let them put together a package especially for you. Thanks to companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcast listed on your screen. And additional thanks to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. Check out the screen for more of her great work. And thanks to the team today, Rob, Zach, Dougie, and a special thanks to Ossian, our pit reporter. You can find more info about GSRC at globalsimracingchannel.com or through our social media listed there, as we also have a merchandise store, simracingmerch.com/GSRC. There's a link in the description below to make it easy to hit that. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss a moment. The next race, another bigger-ish track at Interlagos. That'll be at Saturday, November 20th at 3 p.m. Eastern. But we have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. Up next, later this evening, the Outsiders Racing League goes to Rockingham in the next gen cars. That'll be at 10 p.m. Eastern. Until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.